If the collection is significant enough that it ought to be and they want it to be shared with the public, then obviously we're going to be looking at that charitable solution. So we're going to start the conversation about which is the appropriate institution. Not every institution wants your art. That's a really important conversation. So we want to set up all the parameters of that contribution up front, even if it's not going to happen until later.
Hello, this is Richard Moraes, the editor of Barron's Penta. If you think it's hard to sell your stock, imagine how hard it is to sell your art collection that you spent your entire life lovingly building up. For that reason, we went to see Ramsay Slugg of U.S. Trust to find out when is precisely the right time to sell your art collection.
Typically in my role, I'm going to be brought in by a client team who's already working with a family. They know they have a significant art collection, and I may be introduced specifically to talk with them about what are your plans for the art collection. And I'm always going to start off with, what do you want to do? And so I will walk them through their options, whether they sell during life, sell at death, give to their family during life or at death, or we go with the charitable option, again during life or at death, to help them to identify what's going to happen if they pick a particular option. And those options aren't mutually exclusive, so some may do 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe do all 6 with different parts of the collection. So I tell people, if you want to get up in the morning and have a cup of coffee and look at your Monet, you don't want to give it away yet, because that's more important. That's the biggest drawback of giving away during life. If you're ready to share that with the rest of the world, then the advantage of giving it during life as opposed to at death is that you're going to get an income tax benefit as well as an estate tax benefit. If we wait till death, we forego the income tax benefit. If we want to do it during life and deal with the income taxes, for a variety of reasons, there's some special rules that we have to deal with. And the primary one's called the related use rule. And that is that if we give away any tangible personal property, which includes art, we need to give it to a charity that's going to use it as part of its mission. So if I give an easy one, if I give an oil painting to a museum that's going to display that as part of its collection, that's clearly a related use. We have to make sure that we pass the related use test. And it's not usually hard to do, we just need to make sure we do it, because otherwise we end up with a deduction based on cost basis, how much we paid for the artwork, as opposed to how much it's currently worth. Collectors aren't sellers. They don't like to think about selling their collections any more than museums like to think about selling their collections. And it's also very expensive to sell. We have 28% capital gain rate. We have a 3.8% healthcare surtax that applies. A lot of transaction costs. So you may end up giving up 50% of what you realize just to pay taxes and other transaction costs. Giving to the family has a couple of challenges. Number one, the family may not share that same passion. They may like art, but they may like a different art, or they may not like art at all, or they may not be set up to house a significant collection. That conversation is going to be really important to have with the next generation or generations, depending on the family structure. It's interesting, I'm working with one family, and we had that conversation, and the next generation said, we don't know. We're not at that point yet. And it was a great conversation because they said, we're just started having our children, we've started getting our careers, we've started buying our houses, we've started doing our thing. It's great art that our parents have, but we don't know how it fits into our life yet. And so it really becomes a multi-generational conversation about this shared passion.